Hello everyone, my name is Jenny Kings. Welcome back to my channel. If today is your first time here, you are highly welcome. Please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a half scale basic bodice pattern. And the measurement we are going to be using for this is our full shoulder measurement, our shoulder to bust measurement, our shoulder to chest, our shoulder to waist, front and back. As you all know, our front and back waist length is not the same because of the bust at the front. Then another measurement we'll be needing is our bust span, our bust circumference and our waist circumference. So let's get right into the tutorial. The first thing we are going to do is to make a borderline. We are going to measure 1 inch down from the top of our pattern paper. And connect it with our straight ruler. Having done that, the next thing you are going to do is to check your measurements, your bust and your waist measurement circumference. You choose the one that is bigger. For my own measurement, my bust circumference is 30 inches, while my waist circumference is 25 inches, which means my bust circumference is the larger part of the measurement. But if your waist circumference is the larger part, use the waist circumference. But for my own measurement, the bust circumference is the biggest, so I'm going to use the bust, and the bust circumference is 30 inches. So what I'm going to do, because I'm going to divide this paper into two. One will be for the back, on one side for the front. So I'm going to divide the bust measurement into two. And bust measurement divided by 2, which is 30, divided by 2 is equal to 15. Then I'll measure that 15 here on my pattern paper. Now, I've measured the 15 inches. The next thing I'm going to do is to divide that 15 inches into 2, and that gives me 7.5. Then I'll measure the 7.5 in order to get the middle of this measurement. I've measured the middle of this measurement, and here is 7.5 inches and here 7.5 inches as well. So here will be the back and here will be the front. So the next thing we are going to do is to take the length of the bodice, and the length of the bodice will be the shoulder to waist measurement for the front. And for my measurement, what I have for my shoulder to waist measurement for the front is 17 inches. So I'll measure from this borderline down. I'll measure 17 inches from this borderline and mark it. I've measured and marked down the 17 inches. Now, the next thing to do is to mark our shoulder to waist measurement for the back. And what I have for my back shoulder to waist measurement is 16 inches. So what I will do is to come to this side that I have chosen as my back and measure 1 inch up from this point and connect with my straight ruler. And this automatically becomes my back waist length. Here will be off after drafting the bodice. Now, the next thing we are going to do is to take our shoulder measurement. What I have here as my full shoulder measurement is 12 inches. So what I'm going to do is to divide 12 inches into 2, and that gives me 6 inches. So I will come here and mark 6 inches and come to the back as well and mark 6 inches. Now I'll move back to where I marked 6 inches at the front and measure 1.5 inches down and make a dot there. This will serve as my shoulder slope for the front. Then I will come to this back and measure 1 inch and make a dot, and this is the shoulder slope for my back. So for the front I have 1.5 inches for the shoulder slope, and for the back I have 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then the next thing we are going to do is to take our neck measurement. How are we going to calculate our neck measurement? Normally we do use 3 inches as standard for neck measurement, but that is not a constant. So for us to get the neck measurement for this particular measurement I'm using, I'm going to divide the bust circumference into 12. And when I divide the bust measurement, which is 13 inches, into 12, I will have 2.5 inches. And that 2.5 inches is automatically my neck width. So for the back, I'll mark my neck width as 2.5 inches. And for the neck depth for my back, I'll mark 1 inch. Then I will use my curve ruler to connect it. The next thing to do is to also take my neck measurement for the front. I'll mark same 2.5 inches for my width, and for the depth I'll mark 2.5 inches. Then I'll connect it with my curve ruler. So, as I have connected my neck width and neck depth, the next thing to do is to use my straight ruler and connect from this neck up to this point of our shoulder slope for the back. Then I'll move over to the front and connect from that neck down to that 1.5 inches point for our shoulder slope, and our shoulder is ready. So the next thing to do is to calculate our shoulder to chest measurement, and we are going to divide our bust circumference, which is 30, by 6. So 30 divided by 6 will give us 5 inches. Then I will add 1.5 inches to that 5 inches, and that gives me 6.5 inches. Now place your tape rule at the back part at this point of shoulder slope 1 inch and measure that 6.5 inches down and mark it. Then now take your tape rule to the borderline and measure from that borderline to that point you made, and that will give me 7.5 inches. I will now measure 7.5 inches from the borderline down for both the front and the back. After measuring that, the next thing to do is to connect the dots with a straight ruler. Now, having done that, the next thing is to take my shoulder to bust measurement. And from my measurement, the shoulder to bust measurement I have here is 9 inches. So I'll place my tape rule at the borderline and measure 9 inches down. I'll do this only at the front because our bust is only at the front. So now I've connected my bust point. Now the next thing to do is to get our armhole. So to do that, we are going to measure what we have here for the half shoulder. For the shoulder I have 6 inches, so I will come to that chest line and measure 6 inches and mark. I'll go to the back and measure from the center back 6 inches inwards. Then I'll connect it to that shoulder point with a straight ruler. Okay, as I have connected it, the next thing I will do is to measure 3 inches up at the front. I'll measure 3 inches here and make a point. Then I'll measure 0.75 inches and mark the line. The next thing I will do, I'll go to the back and measure what I have here, and what I have is 6.5 inches, and I will divide 6.5 inches into 2, and that will give me 3.25. I'll make a dot, then measure ½ inch inwards. After doing that, I'll use my straight ruler to connect from this point to this shoulder line. I'll also do that for the front. So, in order for us to connect our armhole, let's take our bust circumference measurement. So, for the bust I have here, the circumference is 30 inches. And when you divide 30 by 4, you have 7.5 inches. So I'll move over to the center front and measure 7.5 inches, which is exactly here. The same thing for the back. I'll also measure 7.5 inches, which is exactly at this line. So what I'm going to do is to use my armhole curve. I'll place my armhole curve like so and connect from this point to that point of 7.5 inches. I'll go to the back, place my armhole curve as well, and connect it to that point as well. And our armhole is ready. So before we take our waist measurement, let's go to the back and tighten the zip area. This will help to eliminate the zip bulge. So in order to tighten the back, you move over to the center back at the waist region and take ½ inch, measure ½ inch inwards. Then place your ruler here and get this point here, make a dot. Then using your straight ruler. I like using straight ruler for this. Place your straight ruler like so and connect from that ½ inch you enter up to here, and this automatically tightens the back. Now let's take our waist measurement. The waist circumference I have here is 22 inches. So what we're going to do is to divide the 22 inches into 4, and that gives me 5.5 inches. Then I'll place my tape rule after the ½ inch back tightening I made. Remember, place the tape rule after the ½ inch. I'll place it there and measure the 5.5 inches. Then I'll add 1 inch for the dart. If you are making for a plus size, you can use 1.5 inches for the dart or 2 inches for the dart. Then I'll move over to the front and measure 5.5 inches from the center front. Then I'll also measure 1 inch for the dart and mark. Then using my ruler, I'll connect from that pulse point to the waist. I'll also do same for the front. After this, the next thing we are going to do is to take our waist dart, and to do that we are going to mark our bust span measurement. The bust span measurement I have here is 7 inches, and when you divide 7 into 2 you will have 3.5 inches. So I'll measure that 3.5 inches from this chest point down. Then I'll connect with my straight ruler. After connecting, the next thing to do is to open up a dart with that 1 inch we added at the waist. We open up a dart ½ inch at this side and ½ inch at the other side. Then we'll connect the dart to this pulse point. Having done this, we've taken the dart for the front. Now, let's move over to the back. To the back, for our dart point, we are going to measure that 3.5 inches from after this back tightening. We'll measure 3.5 inches, we make a mark. Then we move to the first line we drew there and measure, and what we have is 4 inches. So we'll now measure that 4 inches from the main line. We'll also take that at the chest point and then connect with our straight ruler. Having done that, the next thing we are going to do is to open up our dart with that 1 inch we added as well. We'll take ½ inch here and ½ inch here. Then we'll move over to the chest and measure 1 inch down from that chest point, and then connect our dart to that point. Having done that, our back bodice is ready. Now we move over to the front again to add our bust dart. In order to add your bust dart, what you are going to use for the bust dart is the difference between your shoulder to waist for the front and your shoulder to waist for the back. And from my measurement, what I have as the difference is 1 inch. If yours is 2 inches, use it. If it is 3 inches, use it. 4 inches, use it as well. But for my own measurement, I have 1 inch. Then I'll place my tape rule at the side front at the bust point. I'll measure 1 inch and mark. Then I'll connect from my bust point to that place I marked, and this is automatically my bust dart. And having done this, our half scale basic bodice pattern is ready. While cutting on fabric, remember to add your zipper allowance if you are going to put zipper. So the next thing to do is to cut out the darts. To cut out the bodice. Let me first of all cut open this straight line. I want to show you how to close up the bust dart. And when you close up this bust dart, the front and the back bodies will now be the same length. This is our front bodies. Now let's cut the back. Remember to add your zipper allowance while cutting on the back. And here we have it. Our basic bodice half scale is ready. This is our back and this is our front. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial. And if you have not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and subscribe. Also, click the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I post a new video. Till we meet next time. Bye.